Hey everybody, Braden here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be covering something very important, which is the queen checkmate. Well, why is it so important? Well, of course, when you hear it, checkmate, that ends the game and ends up with a win in our book. And that's something we do want. But it's also important to know, of course, how to move the queen and how it coordinates. And learning the queen checkmate is one of the easier and more important things to do when trying to improve one's chess. And in the coming days and weeks, we will also be covering every type of checkmate where white has pieces and black does not, which are the basic endings or the basic checkmates, as we may call them, which is the queen mate, the rook mate, the two bishops mate, and the bishop and knight mate. Of course, again, today we are going to just be talking about the queen, and I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into the video. So we're going to be starting with the queen mate here, as we can see on the board. And we're going to be starting all of these positions where their king's in the center, which is the furthest away from mate, and our pieces are on their starting positions. So one thing to mention here is that for all these endings, the same first parts are almost always the same. The first step is we want to push our opponent to the side of the board. It doesn't matter which side. It could be the back, the 8th rank. It could be the 1st rank. It could be the H file or the A file. This does not matter. What we need to do here is, after we have pushed the king onto one of these files, we will finally be able to coordinate our pieces, or singular piece, and our king in order to deliver a checkmate here. So we're going to look at a way to deliver checkmate with the queen. And this is definitely going to be the easiest one. How can we do this? So an interesting way that I think is very easy to remember here is to just move a knight's move away from the king, besides when they get to the corner. So here, what we can do is we can make the move queen to d3. And when we see the move queen d3, let's also visualize now exactly how the queen is actually performing its duties. So we can imagine this kind of like a box. Let's get rid of this arrow for a second because that arrow is a little bit less relevant. But this one is pretty important. So obviously a piece does not control its own square, but when we look at the functions of the queen here, we can notice the king cannot move outside of this box. And our goal is to shrink it where the king only has 2 squares that it can shuffle between. Once that happens, we can bring our king up and mate the king. So here, they have to make a move. The most challenging move is to try to stay on the corner of the box, either king e6 or king f4. If something like king here, then it's just shrinking the box too much. So here, let's say king f4 is played. Now we can play queen to e2. And if we count how many squares are in this box here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then we play king f4 here, and then queen to e2, let's do it again. It might not look like anything changed significantly, but things have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Some squares have actually been reduced here. Now let's do this again. The king moves forward. As we can see, the box is actually getting smaller every time we move a knight move away. What this does is it just asks their king to make a move. No matter what move they make, eventually they will be forced to one side of the board. So let's continue cutting off the king from the side of the board, and also let's keep visualizing how this square is, or this little box here is being reduced. Again, the best way to play as black is to try to not cover the board, because if they go further, again, we just go like queen here. This would be queen f5, shrinking the box even further, which would make our job a lot easier, but something like king g5 would make it a little bit harder. Eventually, they're going to be forced here. Again, I'll just quickly visualize this so this can be done. Eventually, they are going to be forced to the side of the board. And what we're doing here is, since our queen is on this side and their king is on this side, we can do kind of like a little visualization thing here and see, well, what arrow is in the same direction. Well, it's going into the h8 square, so we're going to be making sure that whenever we make this knight move, that we shuffle again and make sure that we're scooting them kind of towards the square, kind of like we're herding lamb. Another example here is if it were white to move here, we would play queen e4, because again, queen h3 is also a knight move away, but that doesn't help get them towards h8. That's not really productive here. So going back, let's just say king g5, queen f3, again, we saw the visualization here, king g6, queen f4, they should try to prevent going onto the side of the board here, but after king g7 and queen f5, now they're forced to. So the trickiest move here would be king h8, because now a knight move would be bad. And that's just one thing to mention, is that do not make a knight move with your queen, knight moves away from their king with your queen when they're in the corner. Because if we move here, this is stalemate. This is actually a draw. There's no legal move. So here, this is where we break our rule a little bit, go queen g5, and after queen to g5, we can see here that they actually have 2 squares to shuffle. And this is where it gets a lot easier. Now, they just shuffle with their king, and we can bring our king up. And what's going to happen is we are going to assist our queen into giving checkmate. Here, now queen g7 is checkmate, because, well, it's defended by our king, and they have no squares to go to. The box has been reduced to its smallest parts. So that was the queen checkmate. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Also, just a little tip here. Even though we went over it, it's important to also try it yourself. So either take out a board or try playing these positions against the computer, because, well, sometimes just because you've seen how something's done, it might not be permanently in your memory. So training these positions out, despite how basic they may feel sometimes, is actually very important for one's chess development. It's best to make these types of mistakes in practice than in a real game. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys, and I will see you in the next one where we cover the rook mate. Have a good one. Bye-bye.